I'm thinking of a place that has a lot more shade than sun. I'm thinking of a place that has very little grass. With lots of logs. I'm thinking of a place with rocks in some places and leaves in other places. I'm thinking of a place with lots and lots of trees.
And I was spinning and 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 spinning. And eventually, I woke up. And when I woke up,
I found myself in the forest.
there was so much to see in the forest that I decided to go for a walk. And as I walked, I saw things, I thought about them, and I wondered about them.
On a warm summer day, I found myself walking in the forest, and as I walked, I noticed things. I saw a small tree with a twisty trunk. I saw a tall tree with a mostly straight trunk.
I scanned the forest floor and saw a tree with holes. And as I looked at the hole, I wondered, how did the tree have such a big hole? Did the hole hurt the tree, or was it just part of how the tree formed? I saw a tree with a smaller hole, and I wondered how this one was formed. I saw another hole, and it looked like there were two living inside. They certainly had a lot to say, and I wondered what they were saying. Soon I realized they were waiting for their parent. As I watched the birds and I watched their parent, I wondered, how do woodpeckers make their homes? How much time do the babies spend by themselves? What do the parents get for them to eat? And how old are the little babies when they learn to fly? There are so many things I'm wondering about woodpeckers. What are you wondering about woodpeckers?
Absolutely awesome.
I visited a forest in Costa Rica and saw another tree with holes. And as I waited and looked for woodpeckers, something else flew by. The bird was a quetzal. And as I watched the quetzal, I wondered, do woodpeckers and quetzals use the same holes? And if so, do they use them at different times a year? How do they decide who gets to make their nest in each hole? We saw an old tree that had fallen down onto the ground, and we wondered how old it was when it fell.
And when we looked closely at the end, we realized the tree had rings.
So we looked at the rings, and as we looked and as we counted them, we wondered, what can the rings tell us about the life story of different trees? We went to a forest of really big trees, and one of the things we saw there was a bear. One of the first things we noticed was that the bear had lots of hair. We also noticed that the bear seemed to be very interested in something under those sticks and down logs. As I watched the bear, I noticed that it had really big hands and really big claws. And as I watched the hands and the bear and the claws, I wondered, what was it doing with those claws? And what was the bear eating? If the bear was eating insects in the log, how many insects would a bear need to eat to fill its big body? What are you wondering about the bears? I saw some fungus on an old log and mushrooms on the ground. And as I looked at the fungus and mushroom, I wondered, how does it grow? What does it eat? Are there places where it grows the best? I saw some little balls on the ground. And though I didn't want to touch them, I wondered what kind of animal left them behind. I saw a deer eating some plants on the forest ground. I noticed the deer moved its mouth from side to side as it chewed, and I wondered why. As I watched the deer and watched the ground, I also wondered, where were all the other plants that the deer might be able to eat on the forest ground? When we look at the ground,
Why do some forests have more plants and some have less plants?
I saw some mud and some water on the side of the woods. And then I heard a toad. Hearing it made it easier to see. And as I looked at the toad, I wondered, how did it know when it was its turn to sing?
Whoa. Down one.
Later, I saw two toads sitting on the same log. And then I saw two more, and I wasn't sure what they were doing. At first, I thought it might be a parent carrying a child, but then I learned the toads were mating. And as I looked at the mating toads, I wondered, how do different animals make babies?
I saw a tree with smooth bark. I saw a tree with ridged bark. I saw a tree with red crumbly bark. And I wondered, do different trees have different bark? How does different bark help different trees?
Some plants, like the ferns, never grow tall. Yet the trees and other plants grow as tall as they can. As I looked at the trees and I looked at the ferns, I wondered, why do some plants grow tall and other plants
Stay small. I saw a little stream, and then I saw a little dog visiting the little stream. And as I looked at the stream and looked at the dog, I wondered, what other kinds of animals visit the little streams like this in the forest? I saw a tree with a really curved trunk. And as I looked at the trunk, I wondered, what makes a tree trunk straight or curved? Was it always curved, or was it once straight? How do trees grow the shape of their trunks?
I saw a log on the ground, and I was curious about what might be underneath it. So I rolled the log and looked very, very carefully. And underneath I found a worm, and I wondered, did the worm have this place under the log all to itself? Why did it live under the log? Why was there a little bit more mud under the log, but drier dirt next to the log? What other animals might live with the worm under the log? And if I couldn't find them now, where might they be?
I saw a tree with 3 trunks. As I looked at the tree, I wondered, were those 3 trunks from 3 different seeds? Or did the tree split apart as it grew? Why would a tree have more than one trunk? And how do trees grow more than one trunk? I wonder why. I wonder how.
I stopped on the trail and looked at some more trees, and I noticed they all seemed to have that light gray bark. And as I looked around, all the trees seemed to be the same kind. I wondered if light gray bark trees were the only ones that lived together in a group. But then I saw something else. As I walked on the trail, I came to a place with many tall and straight trees, all really big, and all with ridges on their bark going up and down. As I looked at the trees, I wondered,
why were there so many tall and straight trees growing in the same place?
I cupped my ears and heard lots of sounds. And as I listened and thought about the sounds, I wondered what was making the different sounds. I saw a great big nest, and I watched 2 baby hawks calling for their parent. And when I saw the parent bring them some food, I wondered, how often does the parent bring them food? How long does the parent stay? And how long until these birds will be big enough and strong enough to fly on their own? What do you wonder about red-shouldered hawks? I heard some noise, and up in a tree, I saw a squirrel eating a pine cone. And as I watched the squirrel, I wondered, what were all those little pieces of pine cone that were falling to the ground while the squirrel was eating? I saw another small squirrel, this one climbing on the side of the tree. And as I watched the squirrel, I wondered, how could the little squirrel hold on to the side of the tree? How could it have such strong arms? I was so impressed with the squirrel that I decided to try it myself. While it wasn't quite as easy for me as it was for the squirrel, I realized that if you try really hard, anybody can climb up the side of a tree.
So, my friends, the next time you have a chance to do a little exploring, just remember to ask yourself these questions. What do I see? What am I thinking about them? And what do I wonder? See you next time on another adventure where we can explore and wonder together. So, my friends, now it's your turn. After exploring the forest with me, what are you wondering about the forest?